from any year. Just that shot of Rapha just like...
What was going on there? I have no idea what the context of that moment was, but do you think Evil's trying to play some mind games at all? I don't want to assume that, because that's what you want to happen, but it's probably unlikely. But
it's probably a good idea.
Yeah, I mean, right now,
obviously, I don't think it worked. I don't think it worked at all.
Yeah, Rapha just rolled his eyes and they're like, "Oh my God, come on!"
Go sit down.
let's get this going now. But Evil actually full of smiles at that point.
Yeah,
he looked excited.
Must have had his pancakes this morning.
Exactly, but I don't wonder if he's going to be smiling at the end of the series, because what would be a massive relief for Evil is if he doesn't have to play any more matches after this and is able to just sit and wait. And,
is it though? We've seen a lot of situations where that break between the upper bracket final and the lower bracket final turns into such a, you might lose your groove, might lose your vibe. Not helping.
Yeah, I think so. But I know every time I've seen Evil preparing for a final, he just seems to warm up by doing like handstands and jumping around, sort of behind the curtains and things like that. So I've got no idea. But this map now, they're sitting on Elder. I find. I can only see, I haven't heard, or I got to confirmation, but I would imagine that this is a Rapha's pick. He's probably one of the best players that I've ever seen on this map. But I think a lot of this is going to come down to the key. Evil is definitely one of the few people I say would be up for the challenge against Rapha on this map. And let's see if we can request their readiness and go forth and get the game started.
All right.
But I gotta say, there's probably a good 60–70% chance that Rapha's going to take this one. He seems to be absolutely just one of the few players who really thrives under the pressure of not having the key and then being able to recover and make a comeback. I've seen so few people able to really get out of that cycle when a strong player like Rapha has actually got ownership of the key.
And as we've seen several times before, the key turns into a catalyst for a very early frag. And so you kind of end up with that unbalanced frag difference right off the bat almost.
Yeah.
And so that means that you don't have, maybe 6 or 7 minutes of trying to juke out and trying to figure out what's going on. Yeah, we're going to let him know one more time. We're going to have to see if that's the way it goes.
This one's warming up again. Evil. From all the dancing behind Rapha's back.
More mind games, maybe. GBHF, yeah. All right. GBHF.
Great Britain, have fun?
Maybe.
Maybe the hands idea.
Maybe his hands are colder than we thought. I was going to say, the B's nowhere near the L.
And this is it. Evil, he's ready as well. The match is going to be starting. It is the winner bracket final. Evil from Russia, Rapha from America. It is set. Rapha's going to be getting top yellow to begin with. Moving himself over to that red armor rapidly, and obviously Evil's going to be getting that mega side of the map. He's going with the plasma, but hitting absolutely nothing. Rapha has dodged so much of this, but he's going on the bounce pad, and Evil's going to snag the first frag. He's only got 10 health remaining. Is he able to
He needs to listen for the spawn. He needs to figure out where Rapha's going to be and find his 25s and 50s. He's going to be relatively safe here. Of course, neither player will have a rail for quite some time, so Evil can create a little bit of distance, grab away that yellow armor. We have Mega coming up here pretty soon, but it's another fight over the key, and one that this time Evil cannot show up to. Fortunately, that's going to buy him a Mega, but not for very long, as Rapha's going to be barreling down on him, completely out of armor, just having to backpedal as fast as he can, throwing down some defensive rockets and looking for a way out. Unfortunately, he's taken almost all the health on the map already, so he's got very little to recover on, so he's just going to have to out-sneak Rapha here.
Massive pressure on Evil at the moment. He's had just so little to work with, and Rapha's really trying to cut him off at every opportunity. Evil. That's the camera shaking. That's not Evil shaking, don't worry.
And maybe both. So, yeah, you were talking about how Rapha plays out of position, out of control of the key for a little while. Now we have to see how Evil deals with the very same situation.
I'm actually impressed that he's done this well to get himself essentially 100-100. I think that's fantastic for him.
Backing out of lower yellow armor, not easy. I think he only did 2 damage on that one rocket, but here's Rapha launching out with the shaft once again. Evil getting back over to mid, looking to do a little bit of damage before Rapha puts his sights on the red armor, but that was a solid rocket, but now Evil cannot afford to take any real damage here whatsoever, and his dancing around the pillars is just beautiful here. I'm so surprised he hasn't died yet. Even if he does die here, he's going to be doing a lot of damage to Rapha, so even with the red armor coming up, he might have an opportunity to cut him off at the Mega. And Rapha's going to know that. I think he's going to maybe try to not engage there. Yeah.
Evil's actually going to get it. That's very well done from him, but the problem is that Rapha's still got the key, of course. And Evil's lost his lead, so I wonder what he's going to be able to do now. That damage there, Evil all of a sudden lost, well, the majority of his stack. And Rapha, with the railgun now, able to play all distances of the game.
Yeah, it turns a little less into rail control and more, okay, well, if you want to go get the rail, I'm going to go get everything else right now. So it really does buy you that good 10 seconds of being able to move into a better position on the map, which is exactly what Rapha's done. He's looking for a little bit of damage on Evil before he gets baited into the teleporter. He's actually going to go down below, so Rapha can now leave and keep his back to Mega. He's put himself in such a position where no matter how the fights go, no matter how the damage goes, he can't really lose out on any of the items. So really well played there. That's exactly how to get first rail.
Is that maybe a little bit of a choke point that he's not going to be able to chase through? Rapha's going to try and cut him off there. Solid rail there from Evil, and actually with the damage from the rocket jump as well, Rapha is not in the best of shape at the moment. That red is up. Is Rapha going to be able to steal it? And have Evil had a chance to pick up the railgun as well? Well, I think actually, yeah, he would have.
Yep.
There's one rocket. Oh, it doesn't hit the second one. Rapha, he gets the damage, but Evil comes back at him.
Evil might have some incentive to go aggressive here. There he is flying up to get the crab on the
jump.
Mega health. What a jump. What a bit of LG. And that's going to put him back in the lead here, 2-on-1. He's got a decent amount of health here, but Rapha is looking fairly angry afterwards and might be wanting to push in on the key. I'm not sure he could really justify that, though. He's going to need a rocket launcher. But Evil going to be able to keep the top of the map here. And that's going to be a decent rail on the red.
This damage from Evil's been amazing. He's going to try drop down on him. He doesn't get the frag. Rapha's on 12 points of health. He was just desperate for it. Rapha was still having ownership over that key. And there's a machine gun. I think Evil.
Where's the LG? Where's the LG? He's looking for it. Oh!
Again, 12 health. And Rapha, he's going to have the 50 health level as well to take, making sure he doesn't crate it on any level there. And he's even going to be able to load up with that railgun as well. Evil got himself a yellow, got Mega. Is he going to be able to get red? Has he got important weapons enough? Oh, hello, Evil.
He didn't want to stick around for that fight, and I certainly can't blame him. But that's going to buy him a red armor. Rapha didn't come around the corner so eagerly to punish him for that red, so he's going to be fairly all right there. Rapha's still a little bit weak after that entire last engagement, but he's looking for upper YA. He's still got the key. He can still move to Mega at will. But now we've got split timing across Mega and red. So Rapha might have some incentive to stay in mid here for a little bit.
I wonder what Evil's going to do about this. Actually, obviously it's annoying for him because he hasn't got the key. So yep, Rapha gets to make that decision. But I think that rail is really important to make sure he's not benefiting too much from picking up these items. But here's the teleporter being used, but can't quite land the shot.
It's going to put them at a slightly even keel right now as they're looking for rails across the back hallway. Rapha just daring Evil to show up. But they're at for the first time in a long time, they're actually at fairly even stacks. And while Rapha has advantage with the key and the top of the map, neither of them really want to engage until they get some of these initial rails in. And with Rapha not really getting any response on that, that makes this red armor a little bit more risky. Yeah, he's just going to play it safe, going for the Mega, but that does open up a free red for Evil.
Right, Evil needs to continue getting just that chip damage to make sure Rapha's not able to get up to that a solid stack.
Nice.
Finds him. Always sketchy. Oh, lovely rail shot at the end there. Always sketchy, though, that the players are going to be falling down to that lava pit, because you're not going to be escaping if you fall down in that part of the map.
Evil doesn't fall.
Ouch.
Solid rocket, so Evil's definitely going to be on his back leg, but he really needs to do at least a little bit of damage on Rapha on the red armor pickup. Didn't really get what he wanted, and that's going to be a fourth frag up for Rapha.
I don't know how Rapha navigated that whole fight. He just seemed to be damaged very slowly, but over time it amounted to a huge amount, and the resources just weren't popping up fast enough for Evil to stack up. I think that's a pretty big deal at this point. Now Rapha's 200. He's got all the weapons he needs. Evil hoping for the best. He lands 2 rails in a row, but he's giving up another frag. And here on Elder, 3 frag lead, that is so difficult to get, let alone playing it against Rapha.
It just takes so long for Evil to get to a state where he can do real damage against Rapha, especially when he's nailing rails like that. Yeah, as you can see, he's currently at 43 on the rail. He's hitting a lot of really critical ones where Evil wants to push in and do a little bit of damage, but Rapha says no. And so now that he's got a little bit of a stack advantage and he can keep cycling the items, he still might just be searching for the fight. But Evil, he knows that, you know, he might need to spend a couple frags, he might need to take a few bad fights in order to whittle Rapha down, but then he'll need to grab a rail, a rocket, and just get back up on the board.
Evil managed to get a bit of good damage at the beginning there, but yeah, when you've got no health and armor remaining, then you're not going to be continuing that fight for very long. I already feel that Evil's actually given too much to try and get back control.
Yeah.
He stopped wanting to play that slow game a little too soon, but yeah, after you've given up 3 frags, maybe he just felt a bit under pressure.
Well, it's going to be the final 3 minutes here, and yeah, Rapha with a fairly comfortable lead now. And again, the way he's been playing, anytime he feels like he can't really afford a challenge for an item, he's more than happy to leave it up for Evil, because he knows that, at least so far, he's been able to hit just about every important rail, and Evil just hasn't had the opportunities for that.
I think those important fights earlier on that Evil's going to be maybe thinking about a little too much about what could have happened if something else was done, where he had the lead for a short period of time. I still think, though, that it's the key that really was the critical factor in it. The fact that Evil was never able to get the key every time he killed Rapha, it just gave Rapha the control. He knew that as long as he could get that item, he was able to master a plan slowly enough to get himself back in control and take the lead. And we've got Rapha just chasing down Evil once again. That is 10-2. And this first map of the winner brackets final best of 5.
So we have to go back to your previous prediction about Rapha taking this one. You know, fairly on point. I'm a little bit surprised to see, you know, not enough rails coming out of Evil around those corners. But as you can see, Rapha's been anticipating a lot of those poke shots and denying them before they're even started.
Yeah, I mean, Evil even needed more than just the rails. He needed a whole lot to happen. Rapha's just far too intelligent with his defensive play, and with that access here to this door to the right, and he's able to weave wherever he likes and apply pressure to the items that Evil's going for with relative ease.
I mean, the rails are sort of critical for Evil, just because the way that Rapha's been playing, he's making it very difficult for Evil to get close. You can see Evil trying to jump in with LG, Plasma, and Rockets, but Rapha is making it very difficult for Evil to get a nice distance there, so. Highly impressed by this. But yeah, that'll be map 1 going down. Do we know what map 2 is going to be?
Unfortunately, I haven't had that confirmed with me. Although I know that Evil, if it would be his pick afterwards, wouldn't mind going for a blood run. Also depends on what these guys have removed as well. Although I believe it's pick, drop, pick in terms of the map selection order.
So just a note here, it's way too late. But this is what Evil wanted to happen a bit earlier. You know, just kind of go aggressive, get in some damage, keep Rapha low, and be able to
that was a good fight for him,
take items, corner him, because he's been able to find him at Mega. You know, Rapha's been kind of hugging the Mega the whole time. It's what got him on the board in the first place. And so if he could do that, take a red, and then get in close again, then he certainly could turn that into control. But too little, too late. And it's going to be 2 on 13.
That's it. And I've just been told that Sinister is going to be map number 2. Definitely a map that's going to be more favorable for Evil, I think, in the way that he's able to balance the control there. And I think I will be happy to get rid of that key that Rapha is just so good at using on Elder. But 13-2 is pretty steep. There was a really close first 5 minutes, but I think there was a point where Evil just felt like, right, I've got to do something a bit more extreme. And obviously, high risk, high reward. But, you know, that risk factor means you're
the only alternative was, you know, not doing anything.
Exactly. And then the score's just still vastly in Rapha's favor at the end.
Right.
Maybe not quite as well.
But here on Sinister, compared to Elder, there's way more opportunities to get in close and force a fight at Mega, at Red. You're going to be seeing them clash at close range much more often. Yeah.
And I wonder, are they going to go for that aggressive play with each other, or are they going to want to say, all right, we'll take the items and we'll be very selective about those close range fights, or just to try and abuse some of the long range angles? There's a lot of sneaky rails that you can hit there, but they're going to be very aware of what the possibilities are on the map.
Unfortunately for Evil, he's kind of having to make that determination based on how defensive Rapha's playing. You know, we just saw an Elder where Rapha made it very difficult to make those close range situations. So if Rapha decides to go a little bit more plus forward, then yeah, I guess Evil has some incentive to hold back a bit more. But it would be a big change of gear for him at this point.
I feel if Evil's not really able to step up and get some of the map wins in now or the next one, I feel like how are you ever going to be able to cope with the pressure in the grand final if you're able to get back to that position?
It's an incredible amount of pressure. I think it's fair to say that what we saw from Sparty this morning was evidence of that pressure. Yeah. All right, so think we can go ahead and let them know that we're all set here.
Yep.
I'm sure they're taking a slight breather. Just the one breath. All right. I can't. I feel really terrible. I don't know what the B refers to.
I wanted to ask earlier, but I didn't want to say it was just a fear.
I'll admit it. I'm completely ignorant. Noob on me.
Maybe he's just trolling us, and
It's a
he's
mystery to
expecting
all.
us to think
Rapha
this.
trolling? Nah.
That professional and intelligent demeanor that he has, there could be nothing suspicious underneath it all.
Well, I think if Evil was trying to shake him up a little bit, it certainly didn't work on Helter. But here we go.
Evil's ready. He's hit the button, and we're going to be starting no Bs for him. It's all Ls, and this is map 2 of the winner bracket final here at QuakeCon 2016. We're on Rapha to begin with, and immediately a little bit of damage from below, just maybe slightly unexpected from Rapha. But Evil should be able to navigate his way to that mega health.
Just a helpful nudge, you know. He's seen Rapha fall on that jump before, so we want to make sure that he made it to the other side. So Rapha's looking to return the favor now. Evil's trying to throw down a few rails and actually getting quite rewarded for it. Unfortunately for Evil, Rapha can recover on the 50 health. Now completely out of armor before the fight for the next red comes up. So it's a risky one, and Rapha ends up taking a one-frame rail through the teleporter. Beautiful timing on that shot from Evil, and that allows Evil to stomp around the map a little bit more aggressively.
And Rapha's going to go up to that top yellow and find that nothing's there. I think his timing in a second is going to be telling him that Rapha missed the opportunity. Evil been and gone already. And he did that very quickly. He didn't even hang around to wait to see if Rapha would go there. I wonder if Evil's going to be delaying the timing for the items. He hasn't at all. It's a complete clash, which he's been wondering, what has Evil got planned up for the next rotation of those big items?
I'm a little bit surprised he didn't delay that bit, just because Rapha was in no position to attack, and Evil certainly didn't see him there, so he could have maybe waited, 2-3 seconds to give himself a little bit of a buffer, just because you can make that link between Red and Mega fairly quickly here, even though it's an incredibly risky route. But Rapha's going to get in on this Red. Evil's looking for the rails, and so far his rails are much more consistent than they were in Elder, so Rapha's once again low, but still fighting on this one, but Evil's chasing on the jump pad. I'm not sure what he expected to get out of that.
Very risky play from Evil. It could have paid off, but what was strong from him is that he was able to actually disengage as quickly as possible.
Right.
But at the same time, he might have during that time been able to get himself the yellow that Rapha just got. He has at least pressured on the red and taken that item. His rails have actually been sublime. He's been putting some excellent pressure and forcing Rapha to continue that defensive play. And when those items did clash, I felt that actually Evil was just looking for the damage at that point. It was almost something that he wanted, that for Rapha to commit to one of the items.
Absolutely. So now, every time Rapha's been put up against the ropes, he's been able to recover to that 50 health. That's someplace that Evil needs to find him and punish him on. So he's going to be so focused on these items, and Rapha's going to punish him for sticking around so long. Red's going to be up. Rapha is a short jump away from it here. Evil's going to need to run a little bit longer, but he can get back up the stairs maybe a little quicker. But no, he's still sticking around here. He's daring Rapha to drop down and try to push through the teleporter.
He's going to go for that red at some point. He's been leaving it up a long time, and that Mega is going to be up shortly after. It's still over there. And Evil hasn't gone and taken it. He's just left it up. It's like, what the hell? I don't want it right now. But he's got to get to that Mega. Rapha's not able to pressure it enough. He does not land that last rail. Eventually gets away to that yellow. We're seeing some pretty high-level stuff from Evil and just trying to keep that map control and see if Rapha is going to make a move for him to get any further damage.
This is actually beautiful because Rapha the whole time was, doing his conservative thing and going, all right, it's too risky for me to go to red. I'm going to clash with Evil there, so I won't go to red. Problem is, Evil never went to red, so you could see Rapha kind of like locking up a little bit, like, yeah.
I like that he checked that the red was still up. Is that the red's still there? Like, there's only one thing. He must still be at Mega. It's way too close to its spawning.
Yeah.
Rapha did get to the red armor, but immediately takes damage and is put essentially where he was just a second ago.
And that'll certainly help out, though. But yeah, the peak damage from Evil's been much more consistent here so far. Rapha is going to be looking for 25 and maybe even the 50 here. But it's a 7 health 50. He doesn't want to take it right now. It's been so important to his recovery ability here so far.
I'm going to go and watch Evil a bit and see what he's going to get up to. I think that was right by the 50 health bubble that Rapha was hiding. Evil spots him out.
Well, if he does spot him there too much, he's going to get clued in on that. Evil's going to be trying to hash this Mega here. He's going to get it. And with Rapha where he is, he's going to be able to get over to that red pretty quickly. It's going to be shaft on shaft. Evil doing quite a bit of damage and trying to cut him off and meet him down here at lower yellow armor. But again, Rapha is just not wanting to get into any engagement that he doesn't know for certain he can top.
Evil's has been putting maximum pressure on that Mega health, and that rail maybe means that next Mega will be very hard to get. He's got to win this red armor cleanly, but it means that it's so late for him to get over to that Mega.
Wow.
He just about misses that rail, and I think he's going to get pressure. Rapha is going to be attacking very quickly. The rockets are so solid from Evil. He can't quite get the kill in time. A rail out from Rapha, but he switches weapon in time and gets himself the first frag.
Fantastic aggression. You know, Evil knew that Rapha was going to be showing up on that Mega. You could see it in Rapha's movement there, but coming in just that early, just at the right time with those initial rockets, keeping Evil from getting out of the water puddle, absolutely brutalizing. So halfway through, we're looking at one frag, and the pace of this game is going to change now as Evil now has to create situations where he can take a frag.
But what was genius about that from Rapha is it was all about that one rail he landed before red was taken by Evil, because it meant that Evil had to take the red armor, and he was no longer able to apply pressure or ownership over the Mega health. And that was really what his game was focused about, is I've got the Mega, you don't. We've basically, armor doesn't even matter at this point. And he said, okay, he had to take the red with about 6 or 7 seconds left to get back to the Mega, and that was enough time for Rapha to get in his way and provide a choke point. And just, even though the rockets were amazing from Evil, Rapha was still able to get his way there.
And perhaps the problem from Evil there was that with that situation in mind, he wasn't willing to give up the Mega after taking the red. You know, I think that's something that, looking at our last match on Elder, that's something that Rapha would have done in that situation.
Yeah, I think the switch, I think Evil would really like to Rapha to have held that railgun out to go for another shot, which meant that him committing with the lightning gun was absolutely fine. But otherwise, Evil, with 4 minutes to conjure up something here, he's managed to find about 100 armor, but that's gone.
Yeah, and what also has been gone is the initial rails coming out of Evil. I mean, he's going to need them for sure now. So Rapha is going to be fully stacked up, daring Evil to show up. And in fact, he can push out good. This is good. He can put a lot of aggression on Evil here, who is hoping to get a trade on the Mega, but he's not going to allow that to happen. So now Rapha can get the frag, he can get the Mega, and now he can get red. So that was a really good read. And now things are even more tense for Evil here.
Evil trying to get some rockets, go up close and personal to make sure that Rapha does a little bit damage to himself as well, but he is down in the negatives. He misses the rail. Oh, he does get a second one though. But is he able to get away from here?
2 more rails would do it. There aren't any items up for a little bit. Rapha doesn't have any yellow to recover on, but Evil's so incredibly weak, he needs to find some 25s or something.
Rapha needs a rail as well. I mean, he ran out of that, which is a little bit of an issue for him, but he's not actually going to commit into this Mega. He's going to let Evil take it, but Evil's just dancing all over the place.
Dancing, but not connecting with any of those rockets, unfortunately. So Rapha's going to be able to recover a lot faster than him. Just not good news for Evil.
At all.
Coming up on the red armored platform, if Evil's LG's on point, he can keep him from making the jump, but Rapha was just happy to stand there and hit just about every single cell. Absolutely insane.
You haven't got more health than me. Evil maybe standing in the wrong position just there. Does hit a pretty sick rocket, but you're hoping for a lot more at this time. There's not a huge amount more to be so positive about for Evil. Mega is up. He does get himself there, but the vertical rail from Rapha is going to shut that one down. There's Evil. He gets a yellow. He's not going to be near that red for the time being, and Rapha just needs to stabilize a little bit. 2 minutes is enough to make a comeback, but if Rapha's able to get back up to 200, I'm feeling that he should be safe.
I'm starting to have flashbacks of last year with Evil, on Sinister, actually, where there would be situations where, because of the last fight, it wouldn't have been a good idea to put pressure on the red, but Evil just wasn't willing to give it up. You know, he thinks that a bit of aggression can go a long way, and in some cases it certainly can, but against Rapha, maybe he's not the right guy for that.
Yeah. Let's go to Evil for potentially one last time here, because I think the next attack, be it successful or unsuccessful, probably going to be the... what he needs, or doesn't need.
Doesn't have much time either way there. Yeah. So Evil is going to be trading rails here, and those aren't trades that he wants. He wants to be able to corner Rapha. Well, you know, that might actually be good for Evil.
Yeah, you're probably right, to be honest.
He doesn't need to be chasing right now.
Just get the red. But, you know, 1 minute and 15. I mean, I've seen some pretty extraordinary comebacks in time casting, but I'm just not sure it's going to happen. But partially because of immense rockets like this, but also because even if Rapha does get a frag, sorry, Evil does get a frag, then Rapha's going to be able to have such a strong defensive game. Rapha trying to push Evil away, and another direct rocket just as his health ticked down to 100. That's going to be GG, 5 to -1, and Rapha's reign over Evil continues.
He was very fast on the GG after that frag.
Yeah. But I mean, he knew that was
I
it.
think he maybe hit some other keys on his keyboard besides the his grind, yeah.
And yeah, there was no chance for him after that point, even with a minute left, with still I think 5 frags to recover from. It was asking a lot. A lot of very close fights during that map.
Right.
It was a tight match, and Evil had his opportunities, but I think the floodgates were released at some point, and he was Rapha just picked up too many.
It all comes back to that, one rail, okay. Now I kind of have to take red, but I could still get Mega. And again, the timing was really tight. In Evil's head, it was probably just barely justifiable enough. He thought, I can get 2 steps outside of the door into the Mega Room.
Yeah.
And then we have an even rocket fight against Rapha, and he was willing to take that fight.
That was in my mind. That was the map. The map took place in that fight, in that sort of series of actions from the rail leading up to red to the Mega engagement. That was essentially what decided the map. Obviously, if Evil won that, you're not really sure what could have happened after, but it was such a decisive moment for Rapha to go forth and take victory there. He's put himself on match point now, which would send him straight to the grand finals, which takes place at 6 p.m. But Evil, he's got some work to do. We've only seen him win in the groups they played each other. I believe Evil won 1 map there, but there's not much else to show for here. He struggled last year in the finals. He's played Evil a lot on LAN in high pressure situations, but you just wonder, what can he do? What's he doing wrong? What can he no longer do that he was able to
I think that's
3 years ago in DreamHack?
Somewhat evident. Again, it just comes down to pixels and very, very small steps. That entrance from the Mega Teleporter to the Mega Room has that little step. It has the puddle. It has that little step, and that step is so OP.
Because the step is OP.
If you can't get past that step and your opponent catches you there, which is exactly what Rapha did, then you're shut back into that corner. You have very little room to dodge. You're probably being bounced up by rockets, and you have such a narrow field of view to make your hits count.
And Evil wasn't able to get past that. He was taken down to 10 health in the end, and he was, okay, well, I'm going for the LG. He wanted to commit at that point. He didn't have to, but he felt as if there's no other choice. I've got to run around the map with 10 health. I've got maybe a couple of 25s that I can take after that, but you got Rapha, who knows exactly. Rapha knows where all the health bubbles are. He's like, right, I know you're trying to heal up at this point.
Early game, Evil was doing so much damage. We were noting his rails. He was finding Rapha around every corner, but anytime Rapha really needed to take a breather, he found that 50 right when he needed it.
He was solid on the yellows. Like, what Evil almost was a bit too negligent. He was good with the damage, but he wasn't good enough at getting the rails and making sure that Rapha didn't have the confidence to challenge on the items.
He was using his damage to secure a position on red and on Mega, but that's not the game that Rapha was playing. He was playing yellows. He was playing the 50, and it went that way. Again, it's just pixels.
And in hindsight, you shouldn't have gone challenge for that Mega.
That was the decision.
He couldn't have done that anymore.
It's a very thin line, right?
How can you justify making that decision as well? You have to be so restrained as well.
Because you think you can get past that step.
The step decides
like, great,
it all.
I just took red armor. If we're both in a flat box and we're shooting rockets at each other, cool.
Yeah.
Didn't happen.
I think, what was his stack after he took the red? I think before he took the red, well,
it was like
no difference. He was a bit less than 100, 100. I think it was a bit less than that.
Really?
Well, after he took the red, yes.
Yeah, right.
But I think that was a little bit too weak. Rapha would have been 100, 200.
Yeah, we can't forget to include Rapha's play in this, because it was he who was so fast. Actually wanted. I want like picture-in-picture at that point where he was like, okay, time to jump down, cut off that choke point, and make sure that he's not going to be able to get out of that puddle.
Yeah.
And it worked. I mean, there was that opening rocket that sealed the deal.
I'd love to see a replay of just those moments to see if there's anything else that could have been done. Obviously, you could see both of them were landing great shots.
The step is OP.
The resources decided everything. And the final switch from Rapha.
Right.
I mean, he moved away from rail. He didn't go for that last shot, which I think what Evil was banking on was dodging that rail. But it looks like we're going to be getting Furious Heights next, which is going to be a pick from Rapha. And he's looking to seal the deal on this one.
This should be
Send
fun.
him a step closer to 12 grand.
Yeah. we haven't seen too much Fairy Sites called here.
In general, in Duel, we haven't seen enough of this map. I think one of my favorite maps in the ball, one of my favorite QuakeCon Duel maps ever, anyway.
Yep.
Always a pleasure to have this one on board. But I'm not sure. Right now, I feel it's down to the mental game. It's not even down to the skill in Quake Live at this point. It's Evil just under so much pressure. And when you get knocked down time and time and time again, and there's many times that he's been knocked down by Rapha, what can you do? This is it. Evil has to make his claim here. It is map 3 of the winner bracket final, QuakeCon 2016. And we are going to begin on Evil's point of view. We've got a weapon straight away from Rapha, and he has just hit like 100% plasma right there. That was absurd. A quick lead for him. And he hasn't gone for the Mega yet. All the top yellow.
Yeah.
Rapha, is he going to grab everything right now?
Yeah, Evil has to secure this because as much damage as he could do with Machine Gun, he knew that, you know, when Rapha kills me, he's going to be able to take yellow, he's going to be able to take some health, and he can move right into the Mega. So Evil had to put some pressure on him. But it won out. You know, Rapha's 100-100, and there's the second red going over to Evil. So all in all, that Machine Gun play worked out all right. It's a tough spawn to react to, and he did all right. Yeah. Whiffs on both rails there, as we have already kind of really close timing between Mega and Red. That's what you get with those adjacent spawns.
Like Evil maybe wants to commit to the Mega as well. I wonder if he wants to take ownership over that item again and place equal importance as he did on Sinister.
Yeah, so they go for a trade there, which puts a lot of the focus of the fight back on the initial damage and these peak rails. There's a decision that apparently Evil was okay with. Didn't want to go too aggressive here, even though now he already needs to make up that first frag. So Rapha top of the map. It's going to be a long time before Mega comes back up. He's going to be maybe pushing in from the bottom onto Red and just looking for the one rail. Two rails, actually.
No.
Geez, going back in for it. One more shot-itis, but Evil's going to be hurting for it. And again, he takes damage and he goes, all right, but it's still time to fight for the item. It's item o'clock.
Wow, those shots that they're both landing are
Yeah.
crazy. Evil going with the LG. He tries to go for a push to the Mega, puts Rapha down to 10 points of health.
This is okay.
Not
He can still
gonna
grab a rocket
happen.
launcher maybe and show up at the Red. Yeah, this is still really risky for Rapha to drop in on. But this is the difference between Rapha and Evil. Evil would have dropped there. Rapha did not.
Has he done enough damage to make him railable? It's not going to matter at this point. He's no longer setting out for that frag straight away. The one good thing for Evil right now, though, even though he's losing frags, he's quickly able to establish himself on the map again by getting some resources. And the Furious Ice is fairly friendly to that, depending on what kind of control the opponent's got. Red's going to be up. Rapha is going to have easy access to the Mega straight away. Actually gets knocked off the pillar a little bit. I don't think Evil would have recognized that happened.
I mean, he would have heard the hit beep, so maybe you assume that Rapha still made it back over top. But that allows Rapha to get a fairly clean pick of the Mega. And now he's just looking for him in this atrium for a bit of a fight. He's like, all right, I've got a great stack. Time to burn a little bit, earn some damage. Gonna go be a little bit quiet. And Evil's gonna find him at the video, but not where he expected to find him. That's a lot of LG damage that Rapha just took off there. So now Evil cannot push in on this Red. And Rapha's trying to see if he can get some more free damage before he commits to it, which creates some comfortable timing before going over to Mega. Evil's already going to be up there, but he really can't afford to stay there. Hopefully, he can do some real damage here, but it's not going to happen.
Rapha is all over him. He's going to be able to get the Mega now. There's only a lower yellow in the railgun room at the moment that Evil can get. I wonder if he even feels safe to get that. Rapha's got his position, looking for a shot at the top, but can't quite make it. Good to at least take the opportunity to have a go.
All right, so as the chaos kind of settles down here a little bit, Evil needs to kind of, recommit himself to the yellows and then just do some pot shots on these Megas and Reds.
That's such a dangerous area to be in. Evil's got to fight his way out of it as well. There's 10 seconds left until that Mega.
Fantastic LG, however.
That actually was an enormous damage. I did not even recognize how much he had done at that point. Evil would like to delay Rapha a bit of the Mega just to secure the Red more easily, but it looks as if Rapha's just going to forfeit it. He's going to get timing on the item.
Yep.
And he's hoping that this yellow's not been taken yet, but it has been. So Evil gaining a little bit of time around the map to get maybe some other weapons. And maybe even get a push on Rapha to be a bit more successful, because everything for the last, almost 2 maps worth of time has been all about Rapha.
Absolutely. In fact, switching over to Evil here wouldn't be bad. He's got 2 pickups of the red armor here. And he's actually going to try to cut off Rapha on mid-map, make it more difficult for him to recover onto the 50 health. going to be good. He's going to be able to take that Mega, but he's dropping down instead here, kind of disengaging from the fight, looking for a little bit of time before this yellow armor comes up, but that does somewhat give Rapha this side of the map at the moment. He's going to be looking for him here at the red armor. Going to have to see if Evil can get a third one here. Rapha's going to be, you know, there, technically, but he's going to leave it up.
Evil's got full control right now.
Yeah.
What is Rapha going to do? He's going to be able to find him. Good rocket, but the LG is going to work. Evil is on the board. He should be able to retain that control as well. Mega up in a moment, but he wants to put some pressure down and see if... Oh, no. It's the other way, Evil. And he's just realized that he hasn't got time to get one and then the other. What kind of plays is he going to make? He's found Rapha now.
Rapha was expecting him at the Mega, so he stuck around to look for him. You can see that Evil's going, all right, I need to not focus on the item so much. I need to find Rapha and do some damage. I have an opportunity to do that, but knowing which item to avoid that was the problem. Yeah,
there's a bit of a mess for Evil. He could have had both of the items, but he has maintained knowledge of the timings, and he just has to fight a bit more of a stacked Rapha. Getting some long-range damage at the moment would be critical.
He can breathe here. He's still got a good stack.
And he's got a good amount of time as well.
Yeah. And he was able to find Rapha right around the corner and do a ton of damage without really taking any for his first frag, which against Rapha is no small feat. So, Evil stacked back up on yellow, going to be trading some rails, getting another one just as Rapha disappears around the corner. That's going to make this next red very difficult for Rapha to justify presence on. But he knows that he wants to create a little bit more comfort. He knows that Evil is going to be snacking up and going to be getting more and more aggressive here. So it's going to be Mega and red traded off.
Evil really trying to let go of the items and not feel as if they control his positioning too much. But Rapha is just about to survive more often than not, and the damage that he's doing, yellow is taken by Evil, but he's being weakened quite a lot. He's trying to keep Rapha out of that choke point, does move him back, and should be able to pick up the next red armor, but that was very close to actually Rapha winning an important fight. It doesn't matter if either of them got fragged, it was just whether or not Rapha was able to secure the next major items without any issues. Red to Evil.
What is Evil's plan here? Well, if Rapha didn't drop down, he could have recovered back over to the 50 health, so Evil's going to try to cut him off here. Maybe force him back over towards grenade launcher.
Oh, that was such a chance.
He's going to find out the rail.
He's not hitting anything, though, at the moment. Red will go to Evil. It was an important rail that he hit over at the Mega Health because that stopped Rapha from being able to position himself on the
this
red.
Is good. For the first time in a while, Evil kind of created a no-lose situation for himself. He's going to try to get some damage, and if he doesn't, oh well, I'm going to grab red, and I still have time to cut him off at the 50 if he decides to go for that.
Oh, he's dropping down. Absolutely devastating move from him. How is he going to be able to get himself up to the Mega? He might have to just forfeit this and try and get out. Rapha also having a bit of trouble. This extra damage that Evil's landing. Every item is up and they've broken away from each other. Evil maybe a little bit thankful for that he didn't lose more health in that circumstance. And the LG, this is where he got his first kill. He's just going to go for it. The rocket goes through the floor and Rapha wins the fight. 4-1 and Evil cannot make it happen at all. That rocket is so close. I think this step really helped him out there. More rockets coming out. Rapha, full dodge mode.
Ironically enough, that wasn't a great rocket.
Rapha delighted to escape with the yellow. Oh, the direct rocket! He's back in the game a little bit. He knew he had to make something count rapidly. And he did not want to turtle this game anymore. I think Evil's just got to turn the heat up. He's known for being so aggressive in the European matches, and I think he's just given Rapha far too much respect.
He can certainly justify it now that he's done a bit of damage, gotten back up on the board. You know, it's one thing to try to turn up the heat when Rapha hasn't taken a frag at all, but now Rapha's going to have to react to a lot of what Evil's doing, and it's going to come down to how many defensive rockets and rails Rapha can throw out, which so far from what we've seen is a hefty amount. So hopefully for Evil, he can keep the pace up without having to be forced to slow things down, which might be the case here since we have split timing between Red and Mega. But they're going to find each other at Red, and Rapha does not want to go for that. He wants to trade it off with Mega and go, all right, fine. No worries for me. We're going to trade this. We're both going to get stacked back up, and everything's going to be the way it was.
Rapha's got a whole bunch of things that he just took from this room. There's 150 extra damage that Evil needs to do to Rapha to get himself a frag, and there's just over 60 seconds left.
He's going Evil for a chase here.
He's leaving it very late.
Can third time be the charm? On this corner, no, Rapha's not even going to be there. He might not even go to that corner anymore. Too risky.
Oh, the rockets though that Rapha's landing on him. And Red Armor, is he going to be able to take it? Evil's ticked out on all the damage and his rockets are out. His life is out. That is 5-2. And Evil, you can see him there looking a little bit uncomfortable, and I think that's really the moment. Evil's calling GG, and we are going to have Rapha in the grand finals later today. What a play from Rapha. He's just got a perfect counter.
You could see how much they were trying to get into each other's heads. They were playing each other way more than they were playing the map, than they were playing the items.
Yeah.
I think Rapha did a little bit better.
Well, I think he won, so.
I think so, yeah. Well, you could just see that Evil was trying to trip up Rapha, but I think he just ended up double guessing himself a few cases.
I feel like Evil feels that he has to play a different style to beat Rapha, and you can see that he's playing a very cautious, careful style, whereas it's not really what he normally does. He's usually far more punishing and forcing fights a bit more, which indeed Rapha is very good at preventing those fights from happening. But I think Evil maybe needs to inject a bit more of his own typical dueler personality. It feels as if he's trying to play as somebody else, and it's not always working out. Well, I say not always. It didn't work out for him once. So
Evil's got to be Evil.
Yeah, and he's not doing that at this point. Of course, Evil is not out of the tournament. That was only the winner bracket. So he is going to go down to the loser bracket, where I believe he's going to face up against the winner of 0-4 and Kilson. So the Russian is still in for the running. We've got 2 Americans and we've got 2 Europeans still in the pool. I think we are getting an interview set up very shortly, so hold on tight for that one. But yeah, I think over next we can start thinking fairly soon about 0-4 versus Kilson. I can see actually.
If I could maybe find a fortune cookie with a fortune in it that says "Be yourself," and we can give that to Evil.
Maybe can you write it in Cyrillic Russian as well?
Maybe. Are there Russian fortune cookies?
I don't know.
That? Yeah.
I'm not sure. They're close by. Maybe they've made something of some sorts. But yeah, I don't know what advice one could give to Evil at this point. But it's
more
clear that
than
it's
that, I think.
There's clearly something wrong with what he's doing. He's always a step behind Rapha. As you can tell that Rapha's thinking a good 30, 60 seconds ahead of every single occasion. And Evil's fights, you recognize him from having some of the best combat skills in the world. You don't really see, his rockets, they look good, but they don't look quite as good as Rapha's. His rails look good, but not quite as good as Rapha's. His LG
his rails in the first quarter of Map 2 were phenomenal.
Yeah.
Absolutely phenomenal.
But it didn't amount to anything, though, did it?
Not if Rapha can take the 50
I don't think
time.
he got a single frag even on Map 2. So, guys, it looks like we are going to be able to throw it over to DDK, who has got Rapha sat next to him.
Yes, indeed. So, congratulations, first of all. You've made it through. And, I mean, it looked pretty easy. I think, you look pretty confident.
It's never easy against him, dude. It's so stressful. I did know in Elder, though, there was a point. It was got to like 6-2. Even at that point, when half the time left, I knew I had the game. Because there's no way that he could stop me from just bulldozing and pushing him off the map, even if he got 100-100 at that point, which 1 or 2 fights were like that. But he just didn't have enough to survive at that point, especially being locked out with the key. So from there, I felt pretty good. But I know Sinister, so I didn't feel like I played my best game on the group stage on Sinister. I knew I could make it a lot closer like it was in the finals last year. So I just really tried to adjust my game a little bit to some of his tendencies, and it really seemed to work out. And T7's a map that I've always been pretty comfortable on, but him and I have always had really close games there. So going up 1-0 right away, even though it should have been a lot harder for me, actually. I don't know what spawn he got where he was scared to go from Mega, but I was able to get yellow rail and then go into the room, and yellow and Mega are still up. So, whereas he should have had a huge stack and been able to just freely go to red with no damage taken, yeah, he kind of missed a big opportunity to at least try to equalize the frag probably within the first 2 minutes. So that was definitely a missed opportunity by him, and I took advantage of it.
And one word you actually used was adjustments. And I feel like when Evil first kind of burst back onto the scene and he became so dominant, a lot of players kind of struggled to adapt to his style because he imposes his will, and it's kind of very oppressive the way he plays against people. And I think a lot of the moves, some players feel as though they don't make sense, but you have to make sense of that. And it feels like you have a pretty good understanding of how he plays. So when you talk about adjustments, how do you adjust to Evil? What are some of the tendencies? I know maybe you don't want to give some secrets away, but
I think the biggest thing is a couple things I've noticed. I mean, obviously his aim is phenomenal, and the one trait that he seems to have that other players don't is, when you're holding good ground, you know you're a little bit weaker, but you have good position, and you know they're going to rush you, where you deal good rocket damage or bounce them up, or you deal a significant amount of LG damage first. Like you're hitting everything because they're moving in an unfavorable position, and so sometimes players will panic and they won't aim as well. He does not. Like, if he gets hit by a face rocket at first and he keeps moving into the room, his aim placement is very, very good. Like, he never wavers with that. So that's why, when 90% of the other players, they can't keep continuing a push, he can. So you really have to prepare yourself to make sure that every time you find a good fight, that it really goes your way, you have to hit, and you have to leave yourself an escape. Because his aggressive attacks are just that dominant. And then he's the type of player that he plays the player rather than the map. He times very well, but sometimes he does forget because he's focusing so much on the player that on the ways that he tries to catch them out because of unexpected situations. So it's all about just making sure you read it, you get your gut feelings right, and you just stay focused with timing. At least that's what I feel has been the best way to deal with it. But even then, I've still lost sometimes. It can be overwhelming.
So as far as the tournament goes, I think going into it, most people would expect you both to be in the finals, basically, as we've seen in the past. And Evil definitely looks like he's in pretty good shape in the tournament, so it's quite likely that he'll get there. And you will be knowing this, like going into the tournament when all the players were signing up, you knew Evil was going to play. And considering that we don't have a lot of tournaments where you can frequently get experience playing him, do you have any? Did you do any preparation? Did you freshen up on watching some demos, or just shore up your game and just do what you would normally do?
I think previous tournaments I've studied him a bit more, but this tournament was more focusing on myself. It was really hard to get practice this year because unfortunately, DeHang couldn't go, so he just stopped playing with like 2-3 weeks left, and then Cypher's not going to be here he wasn't here this year, and some other NA players that normally show up weren't able to due to prior commitments and things like that. So I had to resort again to playing on UK servers with 100-some ping against some of the Euros that I could play against, and that's how I got a decent amount of practice the last week. But
that's exactly what CZM used to do, by the way. That used to be what he would always do before going to LAN, is play against people in the UK. So taking tips from Paul.
Yeah, I guess so.
Shame he can't be here.
Yeah, I know. I really miss Paul. He's fun to hang around. So hopefully in the future with Quake Champions, he can maybe show up again. That'd be good.
I hope so. It would be really awesome to see him back in the scene. And we have a match coming up with another old school player, of course. 04 is going to be up against Kilson, which will be the next match, which we should have on the stream pretty shortly. But 04, I don't know if a lot of people are aware of the relationship that you've had with him, because obviously, two of the best North American players, but he was dominant, or one of the first great North American players. So how does the relationship work with you two guys, and how do you feel about him as a player, if you had to describe him to people that weren't aware of him?
Okay. Well, his relationship and mine, we're really, really great friends now. But he's the guy that he noticed that I had the potential to be the best, and he kind of helped me with just, some mindset things in preparation for tournaments to kind of help me get over that last hurdle, where some players...
Are there any specifics you can go there? Is it is it based on nerves or specific situations?
Sometimes. I mean, so a couple examples. So the first one is you have to always remember that as well as you played in practice, you're probably only going to play to 80% of that potential come match time, because people are nervous, everything's on the line, and especially the fact, like nowadays even, you don't get to practice on LAN that much, so you're trying to get used to it again in the environment, and sometimes some fights that you're used to online you'll get crushed with here. So you're normally not going to play at your full potential for at least halfway through the tournament, so you have to prepare and to play around that, realizing you may not be playing at your very best. And another thing was just like the poker mentality of positive EV and negative EV, and just constantly evaluating what situations are positive and negative, that type of thing. That was a real big thing. And then just, just trying to cope with like handling nerves, like what you need to do. Like, I mean, and there's no disrespect to admins, but like if you lose a map, you lose two, you feel like you need a second. Like it doesn't matter what they just take a second or two to breathe. Take a minute just to reset your mind, get focused on the next game, and just problem solve. The last map doesn't matter. It's in the past. You can't fix it. Just do everything you can in the present moment to try to succeed.
That's a lot of very good advice that people should definitely be hopefully noting down. So what are your expectations going into the match? Because Kilson actually has been playing much better today. He looks much more like the Kilson that we know and love. And 0-4, again, he's got a lot of experience, but do you have an edge going either way?
Well, I'm actually proud of how John's playing because he didn't get as much practice as he'd like before the tournament, but I can just tell, like when watching him play Phrase, like the way that he's thinking, he's not getting caught off guard in bad positions as much now. He seems to be timing pretty well, which sometimes that actually can be a problem for him. But no, he's playing really well, so I'm really excited to see how he does against Kilson, especially since both players are so good with Railgun. Like, just how are they going to take advantage of the angles over each other? And yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how some of these maps play out. So I think one of the best ones could be Hektik. I have a feeling Kilson's going to drop Elder. If I remember correctly, he's been doing that all tournament, so they'll get to play on Hektik, and both players are really good on it, so I'm looking forward to that.
Awesome, I think everybody is, and I think the players are actually pretty close to starting this match, so thanks very much for the interview. Again, congratulations, and we'll see you later in the tournament. But it's now back to the casters. We'll see you for some more Quake Live action very soon. No, it should just be the casters.